Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we're going to be going over a little update that was thrown our way when it comes to information regarding Faction Assault, some things that are basically confirmation on how the new Faction Assault is going to work, but also some compensation that we're going to be receiving based on all those tickets we've been accumulating for years, because it has been years that people have been actually running Faction Assault to any sort of standard. So let's check out the information. And here is that information, and it says Faction Assault tickets. Hello survivors, with the upcoming release of Faction Assault, we will be moving on from using the daily tickets that were once a requirement to begin a different difficulty of battle. These tickets will no longer drop once the Faction Assault update goes live and will be removed completely. We are aware that many factions have been accumulating tickets, and to compensate, we'll provide each player with 2,500 Ultra Mythic tokens once the Faction Assault update has been deployed. Stay tuned for specific details on when to expect the update and this compensation. Thank you for your patience. Now, two big parts of this. The first part is confirmation that the new Faction Assault will not require tickets to run. I have been in alpha. I have got alpha footage up on my channel. And this does mean that you are going to be able to run it every single day just freely for your faction. I think this is actually a really good game mode change. Whether it was going to be limited to every day, every 3 days, or every week, as long as you could just run it without some convoluted thing that you had to get in, to get it to all run, and then potentially you're checking on who's getting the tickets. Why aren't you getting enough tickets? You're 200 short, then you should be this just creates kind of a bad situation, a really bad feeling. But this new changes to Faction Assault is great. I will say it is great. You can run it every day. If you want to spend gold to get more energy to run it as much as possible in terms of doing as many bosses as possible, you can. You've got the option to do as much as you want. This is how the game honestly should be in a lot of areas. The next part is where there's a lot of pushback on this, and it's the compensation. Now remember in the intro I said this is years worth of people accumulating these tokens, and it is being taken on board. We are aware that many factions have been accumulating tickets for a very long time. I'm talking 2 or 3 years where people haven't actively run Faction Assault because it's just not been good enough. It was sometime in the 6-star era was the last time I ran it actively, and even then it wasn't that good. It was just because it was fun and they did an event for it. I'm pretty sure it was the 6-star era. Maybe they did one in the S-class era, but it just wasn't good enough. They didn't update it, so obviously the bosses were just too easy to breeze through, and some factions, including my own, have 20 million or more faction tickets. There are probably factions out there with a lot more as well, and it's obviously kind of ridiculous that the compensation we're receiving for years worth of this accumulation is going to be 2,500 Ultra Mythic tokens, considering especially that 2,500 Ultra Mythic tokens doesn't actually get you anything. It doesn't get you a pull in itself. But it doesn't even get you any progress, because you generally get those tokens in 5Ks. So it's not even going to get you, to the next thing. It's just almost like a false reward. It's just kind of this is the best item in the game, but we're not going to give you enough of it to even make any sort of difference at all. And I think this is making a lot of people annoyed for various reasons. The actual situation in itself, it is annoying. But I think it's just amplified by the fact that a lot of people are just frustrated with the game at the moment. When it comes to the way war balance is right now, in terms of access to characters as well, is really bad. So I think this is just being blown up a little bit more than it otherwise would be if people were happy. People are not happy, so this is just making them even more annoyed. And this is just annoyance, you're kind of out of touch with the community and what they potentially would want instead. Now, in terms of me being able to present other ways to do this and other things that could be done, I could easily do that. I think they could have run an event, for instance, where it could have just been for 2 weeks. It could have been saying, start a certain amount of Faction Assaults. And then if you did it, let's say 20 total, regardless of the tier, you got a completion bonus. And the completion bonus was just an item, kind of how it worked in the Road to Mythic event, where when Mythic dropped, you got to claim something. I think in that it was just basic, it was just trainers. But when the new Faction Assault drops, they could do a museum collection where you could get some new tokens, some of the new common tokens, some of the new rarer tokens, just some of the new stuff in there. It's just so, you at least feel like your old 2 years of like progress isn't just like being put to zero and you're getting 2,500 Ultra Mythic tokens back. Now, from a Scopely perspective, if they were looking at this at a grand scale, they could probably say, you know, we're giving thousands, potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars away when it comes to how many tokens we're giving it away overall. But to an individual player, this is so ineffective. It's so low. I think it would have been better to actually give away a slightly less valuable item than Ultra Mythic tokens to just be able to give away more of it, if you know what I'm saying. I don't think necessarily anyone would be happy with anything in this case when it was just like everyone gets it. I think people were kind of hoping that they'll be able to use their tickets in some sort of way. Now, my faction is running Faction Assault right now just to get rid of the tickets, but I'm missing out at the moment because people are blitzing it so quick. But I'm not even mad because the Faction Assault itself is so bad. It's so bad, and obviously this is why there's just a new update on the way. We haven't got any information on what's going to happen in the depot as well. Is the depot going to go away? I assume so. Are the current tokens we've got when it comes to using that in that depot is going to go away? I assume so, but again, no information here about that. I think overall just people are annoyed, and I kind of understand it. But I think it's just obviously being a bit kind of mountain out of a molehill, basically, just because of the current climate that's in the game right now when it comes to frustration levels, boredom levels, like just honestly like hitting your head against a brick wall a lot of the time when it comes to asking for certain things to be, you know, put into the game, certain things to be changed, you know, when it comes to even just basic rewards. From gold mythic tokens as the main war reward and low accessibility to characters that should be a bit more accessible. We've got like a 4 battle pass old character now in someone like Scotsman who's just not available at all. And all this adds up, and then it even makes the kind of small things, and this is kind of small, just get blown up massively and just become that thing that could potentially be the tipping point for players. There is definitely going to be some players that are just going to be so frustrated with the game just from this that they're just going to be walking away, whether it just be for like, you know, a couple of hours, couple of days, or who knows. There is a lot of annoyed players in the community at the moment, not just because of this, but you know, this is just adding to a massive pile. It only needs to get to a certain amount, and then it's just like, yo, what is going on? And that's how I kind of feel about this situation. Me personally, I'm just kind of just like it's just terrible. But because I've kind of played the new Faction Assault, I'm actually looking forward to it. I know people have seen it maybe, and they're not like maybe so like feeling it as much, but you know, it is a lot of fun, and it is going to add something to the game, so I can kind of see that being a good thing. It just kind of like, they just kind of messed it up when it like put a dampener on it a little bit when it comes to this compensation for sure. But, you know, potentially the update's still a way away. You know, they have said stay tuned for details on when to expect this. So potentially they could see all the feedback, because there is a lot. You know, if you've got any feedback, just leave it on the official Discord. I would say just try and do it in a polite manner. I know it's very frustrating in certain circumstances, but just do it in a polite manner. Just voice your opinion, say that you don't really feel this is good enough. Leave it in the feedback section. I don't know why everyone uses Embassy like it's the way you talk to Scopely. That isn't how you talk to Scopely, this is how you talk to PC. So leave it in the feedback sections of the Discord, and they'll see it. And then potentially, you know, if the big wigs, you know, the top people at Scopely are like, okay, a lot of people are annoyed at this, maybe we can just change things up a little bit. That's how it'll work. But if you're just constantly insulting people, like I'm seeing some people do, you're going to get your comment removed, you're going to get banned from the Discord, and you're going to have like no input in this situation. So, you know, if you do have an issue of frustration, you know, just obviously do it in a bit of a more of a polite manner than some of the ways I'm seeing it at the moment. And do it in the right section of the Discord, please. It's just so frustrating to see Embassy as like that dumping ground for everything that people hate about the game. It's just, that isn't what Embassy is about. But anyway, if you have any thoughts on this compensation, so on and so forth, guys, please leave it in the comments down below. I want to thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.